Okay, remember that they are changing my voice. So I had to add this first clip. It's going to be like a minute or so because I wanted you to understand that the government fumes and poisons me and tries to make it so I sound weird, bipolar, and crazy, etc. It's important to point that out because people are likely to forget that and say, hey, why am I watching this? It's also important to note that when we're talking about groupings of people and we're talking about religions, we're looking at the masses of the people who see it a certain way and their pinnacle. For example, Martin Luther King for African Americans, maybe Gandhi or so for Indians, English people, maybe some kind of rich, ultra privileged person. And we have to consider privilege, disenfranchisement, sabotage, me having to put a light on the stand, a lamp on the stand, right? Putting my own self on the stand because I'm the pinnacle of all these ideas of all humanity. The ideal man, righteousness, justice, heart, wisdom, sense, insight, timing. The ideal man with the ideal characteristics. And they're trying to take away from that, which means the gap increases, which is part of how the Bible ends. Right? We see in Revelation 16, Babylon mystery, mother of abominations, right? Male and female. It's referring to their works, their cities, their nations, their religions, their families, their people. And so since they're so jealous, they changed the sound of my voice to try to play me out. In this intro, it shouldn't sound so bad. In the first, part of the other clips, it shouldn't sound so bad. But after a while, it starts to sound a little bipolar or something. That's the fumes. And I've talked to people who are mental health types, and they agree with me. And that's what the evidence shows. And even if they didn't, I know best about human nature and about mentalities. Martial arts are about mind, body, soul, and spirit. It's open and shut. For someone to think that they're equal or greater to the top martial arts ever possible is for that person to be delusional. And when the top martial artist points it out, he's right. It's that simple. I went a little overtime in this first clip, but bear with me. You'll see that I'm right about this, and I'm going to make another video after this explaining Revelation 17 to overkill while I'm right about how the Bible story ends. Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. I'm obviously not gay. This video is about how the Bible story actually ended. And I'm saying this for God and I first and foremost. And I'm sure the government will be playing this video for people in secret societies or their secret society or their church. And they'll always remember for more reason than one. First and foremost, because God will never let them forget that I'll reign forever and ever. The word reign is the word Niger scrambled, Niger IA. That's referring to me, the Alpha I, the Alpha One. Not to stupid AI who's trying to take my credit and people who designed it, but the Son of God who defeats everyone who cheats me out of my right to lead and their offspring, and no one should reproduce no matter what. So let's see how this story ends here. This is the third time I've read this for a video, at least the third time. The other two are posted already. I am the Messiah in real life and not in the stupid mainstream psychological construct, which is basically for childish people, especially child molesters, who like to pretend to be important in public. I was born in 1981, and Satanists, especially ones who lie about God, were and are everywhere on earth. The Royal African Falcon top martial artist kingdom with God is heterosexual. And God brought me into this world through it and my parents. Through my parents as well. Females never truly valued me, and at 16, Maria Mello broke my heart after she had broken up with a guy who looked like Weasel from the cartoon The Devil and Daniel Mouse. Fueled with righteous indignation and a moral hatred for the world, I began my martial arts workout routine around that time. After I had taken Taekwondo and Kung Fu, but they weren't suited for me, and so I began my own martial arts style. In spite of their jealousy, technological sabotage, and a serious car accident, which occurred at 17, I was able to pick up my top martial artist workout around 28 or 29. And around that time, my ex-fiancée left me for the last time. She was a Satanist who worked for the governing class. As far as I know, the governing class hired Satanists that worked with the state and churches and more. They sought to try to train me. They sought to cheat me. They sought to try to take the credit from God and I. And that is a very pitiful thing for them to do. It's their way of overkilling that I'm superior to them, that my martial arts is superior to every other system. You name it. Surely you know that the falcon is the champion martial arts animal because of itself in God. Think faster and master, Godspeed, light speed, fasting, the sun and light contact sparring, and the fact that the falcon dives at 242 miles an hour. It's been clocked at. And the word diving is like the word divine for a reason. Around 33, I clearly began to strike at unbeatable world record speed, and heaven's army was in God's spirit and with me. Heartbreak and an intense demand for my rightful place and true love were in the strikes. Romantic injustice and females teasing me also allowed me to focus my righteous indignation, and this is something that cannot be done after I die. It cannot be naturally done after I die. It cannot be truly done after I die. Okay? It continues. These martial arts strikes, my martial art existence continues in the spiritual realm, and there's a bunch of jealous white people, jealous LGBT people, jealous people in the military, jealous homosexuals, jealous police officers, jealous intelligence agency types, jealous Freemasons, you name it. There's a bunch of weirdos everywhere, and they're jealous. And everyone who lives in America at this time knows that I'm right beyond a reasonable doubt. They know that these types of people are like control freaks, they're jealous, they're lunatics. They're absolutely incapable of being men, and it's very sad that all their offspring and the whole world are going to be cut off from God because of their pathetic inability to put being a man who serves God above their pitiful lives and the pitiful things they chose to put before God. So the reason why you have a dumb geek, homosexual, influenced future, a dumb white supremacist future, governing class, rich, arrogant, English, French kind of lame future, the reason why you're hooked to machines, the reason why you're fucked in one way or another, if not hooked to a machine, you're screwed to the point where you may as well be, is because they refuse to be men. The reason why they changed the sound of my voice, right? Even this video, they couldn't leave it alone. There's some kind of obsessed homosexuals who had the ability to reject their inclinations, to not give in to their inclinations, and they chose to. And if you are mad, you should be mad. Whether or not I'm telling you to kill them or not, you should want to kill them, because what they did is so sickening to you. They were horrible parents to you people. They were horrible forefathers and foremothers. And you have a right to want to kill them for betraying you so much, just so they can pretend that they're tough, just so they can play a stupid white, Jewish, and LGBT game where they pretend to be important. I mean, that is pathetic. Thank God Almighty I'm not their offspring. Thank God Almighty. There is no words for how much they have failed you. You people are in secret societies in the future in the church. Your forefathers failed you horribly. Far worse than the founding fathers of America, a very treacherous nation, mind you. They have failed you to the extreme. How they have failed you, man, there's no words for it. It's hard to believe the stupidity that is going on right now in 2025. They like to blame, maybe immigrants or the Pope or, all these, to some degree, they're all in rebellion. They're all to blame to some degree. But it was the entire governing class, just not a man among them, a bunch of sniveling punks. So I had to replace this part because they put so much static in it after they hacked the phone. They didn't hesitate to fail life's test. They looked at the situation. They saw two paths ahead of them. One, obey God through me early on so their offspring would still have a future. They chose to go out like complete bitches, trying to impress some gold-digging sluts, some old geezers, some Freemasons, frat-like idiots, trying to impress just complete morons in gated communities, just privileged snobs, just worms, trying to impress so-called intellectuals, just idiots, just fucking idiots. They looked at the situation. They looked at the situation and thought that they were better off going out like some idiot trying to impress the LGBT community. Like some kid suck fucking moron. And they're pathetic allies. Like some dumbass who's trying to benefit from the sabotage of the whole world. Maybe an Italian person in an Italian suit. Maybe an English person, a French person. Maybe an American person in a nice restaurant trying to be some kind of pretty boy, some kind of privilege projecting moron. Just dumb, 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 dumb. Just an insignificant twit. They don't understand anything. So true martial arts and the martial arts strikes of God cannot be done after I die. God's work cannot be done in the flesh after I die. Obviously, artificial is fake, shallow and superficial are fake. Technology is for nerds. Everyone should know this already. And nerds are foolish and contemptible, worthless, boringly studious in their own dictionaries. The government did things like slow down my videos and threw them off in various ways to try to get people to doubt what no sane person would. They sabotaged and fumed and poisoned me for years, but my divine will could not be shaken. My will is eternally greater than the rest of the world's combined. This is overkill by the fact that people were supposed to come out of the global and national systems, and they should have rallied to me as I am the gate. I am the gate, figuratively speaking, as they did not do what was right. They were not figuratively gathered into the clouds of God's fiery martial arts warrior wrath. So as they did not do what was right, they were not figuratively gathered into the clouds of God's fiery martial arts warrior wrath. God's righteous indignation was conveyed through an intense point in my strikes. Satan, or the source of evil, used the Babylonian technology of the world to try to interfere and to try to play God and take credit for my strikes, but he and all the rebels were utterly ashamed and completely terrified, feeling powerless to speak publicly about this. This is still reigned true. They are utterly scared to man up and take responsibility for what they've done. They knew that God and I are going to punish their offspring souls more, and there's some kind of sniveling, whimpering geeks, some kind of arrogant English person, some kind of arrogant government official, some kind of Donald Trump fool. Just no sense whatsoever. You know, these government officials completely scared to have a press conference and to do what a man would do because they're not men. I can't stress that enough. It's important that you understand that. Truly, they have no power of note. They are like an ant queen at best. They are nothing in the eyes of God. The inhabitants of the earth submitted to the child molester, infused rainbow pony spirit of the governing class, which is conservative, heavy. I describe it this way, as it is like a childish, senseless, arrogant, mocker-like, unruly woman spirit with a beta brat frat emphasis. All too often the beta nerd component sticks out as they act like perverted children that have gone mad all too often. Then they seek to use more so-called professional, corporate, and Freemason types to try to feign authority. The leaders of the earth had representatives of all their religions and cultures and spirits surrounding me with their group spirits connected to them. The part is key here. All the spirits of all the people who refused to obey God to me were surrounding me in one sense or another. Often they would just drive by, but they went out of their way to create the effect in a sort of ritual manner. Any small groups that were not directly represented were in rebellion as well as they were slack in their work. My top martial arts challenge had overkilled what my self-training had brought about. The challenge occurred on December 20th, 2013, and they lost far worse than they would have otherwise because they sabotaged me, because they tried to take credit for my training. Can you imagine some group of people that's so bitch, some kind of elf-like sniveling bitch, that they tried to take credit for the top martial arts ever possible's martial arts system, way of doing things, way of thinking, training? Can you imagine? Can you imagine being that immature? Trying to take credit for the sunrise and the falcon's diving speed, the leopard's deadliness. Can you imagine being that pathetic? That's a huge part of their spirits. My top martial arts challenge had overkilled what my self-training had brought about. My challenge occurred on December 20th, 2013, about 11 years before the day I wrote this thing. And if I'm alive on December 20th, it'll be 12 years to the day. So, you know, the year here is 2000. The year now is 2025. Excuse me. The date I wrote this paper, and it's been written for a while now, was December 10th, 2024. The 11 can be seen as two pillars that allow me to pass through and sit on my throne in heaven with the never-ending challenge and greatest victory under my belt. So again, my top martial arts victory is the greatest victory of any kind in human history. No military victory is greater, no scientific achievement, no victory in terms of winning a female over, no victory in regards to amassing a lot of money is greater. They don't even come close and go far beyond all the scientists put together. The word challenge is a play on words for many things. We can get various words together. We can get various words from the word and we can put them together, right? Angel see hell, angel call hell, okay? Kill hell and gay, call hell and gay. This is the word play there. Angel call the H, which is an ancient symbol for the fence. Hail and geek, right? Isaiah 28:17, right? Hail will sweep away your refuse of lie, and water will overflow your hiding place because you didn't make righteousness and justice the boundary lines. The dominant principle of moral precision, which is the Spirit of God by default, made it so I won. They followed the crowd, tail tucked, completely afraid to be men if they were male and scared to be women if they were female. This goes for everyone outside the divine order. They were not rooted in focused moral intensity as they rejected me as king. They were evil so long that they did not understand. They didn't understand life. They didn't understand a great many things. They didn't understand, and it was clear that I won. As I am in God and God is in me, God won. It was clear that they were rolling with and being marshaled to eternal disgrace. They're like a mix between the cartoon character Dick Dastardly, Gargamel, the teenage bullies from Simpsons, some obnoxious and disgusting rock and roll stars. That's what their spirit is, because when it came to representing for all of mankind, right, especially whites, Jews, and LGBT, the people who are leading the charge, I'm sure we can all agree this is not racist, it's just the facts, and I'm sure you want to know the facts, and you don't want some politically correct nonsense to interfere. Okay? They're representing for those three groups first and foremost when they did the disgusting, childish, frat-like stuff that they did. When you think of Western fraternities, what do you think of first, right? When I was young, it was clear that there was a bunch of gay-like people, LGBT-like people in sororities and fraternities, and there's a bunch of white fraternities and Jewish fraternities. As time went on, I saw a bunch of whitewashed, Asians or black people in their version of the fraternities and sororities. And so it is with the main spirits defying God, the main spirits of the churches. The Babylonian spirits, they're best described as kind of white, heavy Babylonian spirits. And there's the Jewish in there too. In recent years, the Jews have injected themselves more into it. These are the facts here. If it was another group that was doing it, I would say that. I'm mixed. I'm not one race. I'm not racist. So again, it was clear that they were rolling with and being marshaled to eternal disgrace. The figurative whirlwind of the Lord has scattered, trampled, and discarded them and their offspring, and nothing can save their souls after my flesh dies. None of their marriages or families had true love from God in them. The devil, who was also in them, manipulated them, and as moral precision was not in their being, they were played as fools. Many chose to have children out of unbelievably extreme selfishness and stupidity. They damned their offspring to a horrible life and then eternal punishment. Some were so deluded by the wicked child molester-infused spirit of the governing class that they thought that because they were not as evil-seeming as the worst of people, that they might still have hope, which is not true. They don't have hope. Not after my flesh dies. And after my flesh dies, they will be sealed. Out of desperation and sheer stupidity, they hurled insults at me and persecuted me as no one obeyed God through me. Their science cannot and will not save them. Who they truly are, is what is left of their souls, and what is left is all rotten and evil. As far as Revelation 19, as my hands figuratively gathered up the wind, as I held the wind from the four figurative corners of the earth in my fists, I struck with world record speed, lightning, sun, falcon speed. I figuratively dove into the enemy's spirit and struck it down as they were arrogant yet whimpering, thinking that if they could put words into my mouth that they would get something, which is a stupid thing to think. I'm sure we can all agree. Generations of extreme childishness proceeded to finish them and their offspring off. Their philosophies of so-called white, Jewish, and LGBT supremacy were struck. Their spirits and the spirits of any offspring they might have were thrown down and trampled as God was and is with me, and Satan's child molester helpers were trying to use technology against me. They were defeated with no way back, and only what was left of their souls remained, and they obviously needed to rally to me and obey. They needed to accept that no one should reproduce, and that after my flesh dies, the gate, will be permanently closed. As the Bible says, what I shut cannot be opened, and what I open cannot be shut. God was and is with me in my soul, my spirit, and my martial arts strikes, which are preserved with God Almighty, who will surely reward me for my loyalty, which is the greatest of all time. Solomon, David, Asa, even Jesus as a character in the story which is superimposed on me, altogether could not achieve what I have achieved. The most glorious victory of all time and the most important royal job of all time, with jealous people who are the offspring of pure evil scum desperately trying to exert power over me out of extreme desperation and insanity. I pointed out to them in thousands of speeches and videos that they have no viable counter argument. And they have conceded directly and by their actions as far as admitting I am right, and they are stuck on wrong. You see, I beat all the opponents, but this was an expression of the deeper victory as my soul and essence beat the whole world's souls and essences and family direction. So again, my soul and essence beat the whole world's souls and essences and family directions. And they're kind of all headed toward hell. And after my flesh dies, they'll be definitively heading toward hell. My spirit definitively proved itself to be superior as I am in God and God is in me, while others admit that they are not holy or they pretend to be, and they are ridiculed by the actions of the whole world and the spiritual realm. God rewarded me for my righteousness, and my patriarchal line was given the greatest gift ever, the top martial artist ever possible. And my soul sits on the throne at the right hand of the Father. So if you were an honest and decent parent, very heartfelt, very loving, very caring, very perceptive, very wise, if you had sense and insight, would you want your child to be like the top martial artist ever possible, or to be the top martial artist ever possible, or to be just a super rich person or a president or something else that is not impressive? You see, the Western scale is very, very broken. They even superimposed a fairy image on the idea of the Son of God, because fanatically arrogant whites and Jews and LGBT people govern them and dominate them and their spirits and their cultures, which is key in why 1 John 2:15 is clearly correct. Do not love the world or anything in the world. You're being subdued by child molesters, by fairy heel-clicking weirdos, and arrogant racists in the governing class who think because they have a nice house and a nice suit that they are magically superior. It's pretty straightforward here. Again, my spirit definitively proved itself to be superior as I am in God and God is in me, while others admit that they are not holy or they pretend to be, and they are ridiculed by the actions of the whole world and the spiritual realm. God rewarded me for my righteousness, and my patriarchal line was given the greatest gift ever, the top martial artist ever possible, and my soul sits on the throne at the right hand of the Father. As I have said, I deserve my rightful place, the top martial artist throne, and I accept it in the heavens, and in the heavens it is known. So after 2016 and 2017, at the end of the year, they drastically turned up their technological and substance-based attacks on my flesh, while their spirit whimpered out of an extreme lack of maturity and an extreme lack of masculinity. It is as if they knew this would happen, but they did not care. They seem to be suffering in their relatively empty vessels, their flesh. They have a sort of sick, perverted, and perverse comic baby line, Babylon way about them. The white, Jewish, and LGBT elite led them astray in Satan's spirit, and with token minorities helping them at higher levels of Satanism than other minorities. The masses played their vile parts, as the people alive who did not obey God through me were spiritually slain and trampled in hell. In the spiritual realm of hell, the realm of the dead the realm of those who are outside the divine order. And when their flesh dies, they'll go to the essence of hell with no flesh to confuse them about where they are, and no way to mitigate. They will never have love. The actions of a true husband and a true wife will never be seen in them. All their works are and will be detestable. They will never have a fulfilling life, and they will never have any of the true life and true martial art principles intact. In the essence of nature, I was victorious, and though they kept me from describing this in my natural words, you all should know that I am right, and what happened more or less should be obvious to you. And it should be obvious to you just by knowing that I'm the top martial artist ever possible, it should be clear. This is the end, and you should know what my heart must be to a large degree if you truly understand what I've said.